Welcome back to the Rare Book Views channel, where I am hoping to get to show you some of my rare books and share some thoughts on books and hear from you about books, all the views. If you are interested in that, do me a favor and subscribe. Today I'm going to tell you about a trip to a bookstore that I didn't really plan, and it was a little bit of a whim, and I didn't take any video, but I did get some books. And one of my favorite things is to tell people about the treasures I found. So I appreciate you watching and fueling my habit. This was a library charity bookshop, and it is really fun, but it was closed for a long time, so the shelves are not very full. And sometimes I go there and I don't buy anything, but I did find a couple cool things. One of them has been on my list for a while. This is a book by Laura Lipman, and it is Dream Girl. And this has been on my list since I saw it reviewed. I enjoy Laura Lipman. She is an interesting writer. I like suspense in general, but she does a really great job. She's a great storyteller. I think her father and she were both writers for a newspaper in Maryland, and the way she tells stories, they're often set in Maryland, and they have a really genuine, believable quality. Things are detailed, but not overly detailed in an awkward way, and the way she tells a story, it makes sense that she was a journalist. It really all fits together really nicely. This one sounds a little bit different than her other ones and kind of cool. She is talking about somebody is housebound, he's got an injury, he's an author, and he gets a mysterious phone call from someone claiming that she is the real person in one of his stories, which is fiction, so none of that makes any sense. That's all I needed to know. I put it on my list and I found it, and this was $3, which is a great price. And I really think fiction is kind of rough because I don't have much shelf space left, and once I read it, if I'm not going to read it again, then I have to find a new home. But I have a friend who likes Laura Lipman, so I'm pretty sure I can find a place for this one. And that my same friend asked me about this book, And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I'm on a little bit of an Agatha Christie kick. I don't know how I've avoided it for so long. This is weird, because I enjoy mysteries, and I like books set in England. I think that's really fun. She had a very interesting life. She was a very interesting woman, and I've actually read a biography about Agatha Christie, but I have never really owned any. And I bought a vintage book recently on one of my trips, and one of the viewers dropped me a note, which I really appreciated, and said, it's a book about Poirot, and it is the last one. And this person said, so you might want to start at the beginning. And I have been thinking, well, maybe I'll just read them on my e-reader and collect nice copies as I go. Otherwise, I could be waiting a very long time. But my friend said she really wanted to read this one. She's not tied to reading them in order. And I have been on the lookout for it. And then I thought, oh, I can read it. And then I already have a built-in new home for this book. So that was great. And this was super, whatever. It looks brand new. It looks like the spine has not been cracked or anything. And it was $2. So nice and crisp. It's going to feel like it's a brand new book to me. And then I have a place to put it. This book is really fascinating from an author perspective. She has said that this was maybe her hardest plot to work out, that she had the idea for the book and it's so complicated to fit together that it was maybe the biggest effort of all of her books. And I thought, what an interesting, kind of intriguing idea, that it was really hard for her to work it out. This is a little controversial. This book has multiple titles. When it was published in England, it had a different title and is based on a children's rhyme. And the children's rhyme has to do with there's 10 people and they slowly die off. And so she said in an interview that I read that the challenge of figuring out new ways that these characters were going to die and not in a super boring, repetitive way. So that is intriguing. The children's rhyme is problematic because it is not cool. So the British version of this rhyme has words in it that polite people would never use. And the title in England, when it was originally published, had this in the title. In the United States, they used a different rhyme, I think, and definitely a different title, which is also not great. So they renamed it, And Then There Were None. And I'm excited to read it. Understanding that background, I think, will be interesting. And then this sort of plot challenge of how she was going to get all these characters to match up. So I'll let you know how that one turns out. This, I think, is so cool. I love it when I find a copy of a John Bellairs book. I love John Bellairs. He wrote these cool, kind of creepy, young adult books, and I read these when I was in maybe elementary school, and the plots I think now are not appropriate for that age, but because they're kind of scary, but I love them. I love the illustrations. This one is Mercer Mayer, but a lot of his books are illustrated by Edward Gorey, and the hardbacks, and I like to have a nice hardback. Who doesn't? For John Bellairs, a lot of them were sold to libraries, and that means that it's really hard to get a hardcover in good condition that wasn't ever owned by a library and doesn't have like a stamp or a packet in the back. So I have several. I have a video about that collection of mine and my love of John Bellairs, and I'll put a link to that in the notes. But this copy, I've seen this online and I've never had one in my hand. It doesn't have a dust jacket. It is the Weekly Readers Children's Book Club edition. So this is a reprint. Reprints like this, a book club edition, they take some steps to make the book a little less expensive to make, and then that lowers the price. And often these are subscriptions where you're getting a book every month. So from a publishing standpoint, they have a locked in amount of money that they're going to make because people have subscribed, and then they can gauge accordingly. So they're making a profit, maybe not as much of a profit, but they are also getting books to people. So this one is dust jacketless, and I think that is how it was made. And this was made to go eventually to a children's, in a children's hands. So they cut a couple corners. I love that it's illustrated wraparound, but it is not Edward Gorey. And I have found this online. I already have a copy of this book, and this is the sequel to The House with the Clock in Its Walls. Another reason it's hard to buy a John Bellairs vintage book is that movie was really popular and had really great people in it. Jack Black, Cate Blanchett. It is mostly true to the book, but they took some liberties, and I think that they took some things from different plots. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's some things that happen in that movie that are not just solely in that one book. This is the sequel. This is the next book in the story of Louis Barnavalt, pronunciation check there, and it's fun I think that he's a great character. If you are a kid who is a little bit nerdy and loves books, you are going to probably identify with this guy. So this is a great book. I think it's fun to look at. I wanted to look at the interior illustrations and compare, but I'm not going to keep it. So this cost me just a couple dollars, and they sell from maybe 10, 15, 20 on eBay, which is where it's probably going to end up for me. And then this one is a dilemma. I want to get your advice on this one. This is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by my friend Robert Louis Stevenson in a Franklin Library. Franklin Mystery Edition. Franklin Library did, I think this is also a subscription, but I'm not really sure, and I am 87% sure that it's out of business. But they did some nice editions, and they came in different levels of quality. This is a faux leather, I believe, but it has this nice illustration on the front. It's got some gilt. The spine on this one is flat. Some of the nicer ones have a rounded, more real leather feeling, and some of them have a silk interior. This is just a flat paper. So I don't have a copy of this book, and I think I'm probably going to keep it and read it. I've read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it was a long time ago, and this feels like it feels like this would feel good to read it. I care about the tactile quality. So I think maybe I'll hold on to this, and this can put it on the shelf, and then if I found an older, more vintage, more hardcover dust jacket, better illustrator, something fancier, I could upgrade. This cost me, consult my records, I paid $15 for this, which is a lot for me for a book. And they're listed on eBay right now. I did a quick check, $20 on up. So I don't think, it was a little bit of a bargain. It wasn't a crazy bargain. It's probably worth the money. And if I read it and love it, then I can upgrade later and it'll be totally fine. But I would like to hear your thoughts. Should I keep this? Should I sell it and use the proceeds to buy a different copy? Do you have a nice copy of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Do you have a recommendation? What copy I should want? What publisher I should want? And let me know what you think about that. Thank you for watching. Happy reading.